Hello and welcome to KLM Institute.
Today, we're diving into a significant and highly complex development in international diplomacy. France and Germany have taken a monumental step by sending their foreign ministers to Syria, meeting with the country's new de facto leadership in Damascus. This visit marks the first time top European officials have set foot in Syria since the fall of former President Bashar al-Assad last month. And it's a moment that's not just about diplomacy, but also about the ongoing struggle for stability in a region that has been torn apart by years of war and conflict. And as if the situation wasn't already tense enough, we'll explore how this move impacts the wider Middle East, including Palestine, Gaza, Israel, Iran, Russia, and even the United States. Now, if you're wondering what's behind this visit, it's about the shifting dynamics in Syria and the West's changing approach to the country's future. Germany's Annalena Baerbock and France's Jean-Noël Barrot were in Damascus on Friday to hold talks with Ahmed al-Shara, who also goes by the name Abu Muhammad al-Julani. This is the man now effectively leading the Syrian political landscape. If that name sounds familiar, it's because he is associated with Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, a group that has had links to al-Qaeda in the past. HTS, which led the rebellion against Assad's government, is now at the center of a heated debate in Western circles on whether it should still be designated as a terrorist group. The fact that France and Germany are meeting with figures like al-Shara signals a potential shift in how Western powers engage with Syria. These countries are starting to recognize the evolving political realities and the role HTS might play in shaping Syria's future. Baerbock, speaking after her meeting, made it clear that Europe is ready to offer support to Syria, but with a major caveat: Europe will not finance Islamist structures. That's a crucial point, highlighting Europe's desire to engage with Syria while also ensuring that extremist groups are kept in check. But what exactly is on the table for Syria's future? The ministers came with a clear agenda. They stressed the importance of inclusivity in Syria's political process, insisting that ethnic and religious groups, including both men and women, must be involved in the drafting of a new constitution and in any future government. Baerbock also pointed out that the process should involve Syria's Kurdish allies, who have been left on the sidelines in previous negotiations.
A better future for Syria means an inclusive, peaceful transfer of power, reconciliation and reconstruction. This requires a political dialogue involving all ethnic and religious groups, involving men and equally women. They all must be involved in the constitutional process and in a future Syrian government. In our talks today, we made clear Europe will support, but Europe would not be a financier of Islamist structures. We encouraged our interlocutors to draw on the UN's experience and support for this political inclusive process.
The West has long supported Kurdish forces in Syria, and their role in the future political landscape is something that cannot be ignored. In an interesting move, the two foreign ministers also visited Sednaya prison, a notorious site during the Assad regime. Sednaya was infamous for its brutal treatment of political prisoners, including extrajudicial executions, torture, and forced disappearances. Baerbock shared her shock at the horrors of the prison, stating that it was a faint glimpse into the unimaginable suffering endured by detainees under the Assad regime. This visit, more than just symbolic, emphasizes the West's call for accountability in Syria, with many arguing that the deep scars left by the Assad government cannot simply be overlooked. Before arriving in Syria, Baerbock made specific requests of the new government. She urged them to avoid acts of vengeance against any groups within the population, to hold timely elections, and to resist attempts to introduce religious content into the educational and judicial systems. This is crucial because recent reports have suggested that the new Syrian authorities are already making controversial changes to the curriculum, such as removing references to women in poetry and scrapping mentions of ancient gods. In history lessons, these moves, while not unusual in a post-conflict society, could raise serious concerns about the future direction of Syria, especially regarding the protection of individual rights and freedoms. Another major point of concern for Europe is the timeline for constitutional change and elections. Al-Shara recently stated that it could take up to 3 years to present a new draft constitution, and another year before elections could be held. This long wait has raised questions about the potential for political stagnation, especially given the volatile situation in the country. Western powers are pushing for a clear roadmap to avoid further delays and to prevent the consolidation of power by any one faction, which could lead to another cycle of conflict. As this situation continues to evolve, there's a great deal of focus on the role of radical groups, especially Islamic State (ISIL). Both Baerbock and Barrot made it clear that they won't tolerate the presence of such groups in Syria. The concern is that these extremist factions could exploit the region's instability, posing a grave threat not just to Syria, but to the entire region. This is a crucial issue because, despite the defeat of ISIL's territorial holdings, the group's ability to regroup in areas of lawlessness remains a serious concern. Now, let's zoom out and understand the broader ramifications of this diplomatic shift. How does this impact Palestine, Gaza, and Israel? The changes in Syria are inevitably going to affect the geopolitics of the Middle East, especially with Israel's long-standing concerns about Iran's influence in the region. Israel is watching Syria closely, especially because the country has been a battleground for regional powers, including Iran, which has been actively supporting Assad's government. If the West moves toward engaging with Syria's new leadership, it could shift the balance of power and complicate Israel's position, as it has always viewed the Iranian presence near its borders as a significant threat. Speaking of Iran, this new diplomatic approach also affects Tehran's ambitions in Syria and the wider region. Iran has been a key ally of Assad and has maintained a significant military presence in Syria. If Europe softens its stance on Syria, it could inadvertently empower Iran's position, further entrenching Tehran's influence in the Levant. This could raise alarms in both Israel and the Gulf states, who are wary of Iran's growing power. At the same time, Russia has been a major player in Syria, offering military support to Assad's government and using Syria as a strategic foothold in the Middle East. Any shift in Western policy toward Syria could impact Moscow's influence. The Russian government will closely monitor this evolving relationship between Europe and Syria, as it could change the power dynamics in the region, especially in light of ongoing tensions between Russia and the West over Ukraine. For the United States, the situation is even more delicate. While it remains highly critical of Assad and his allies, the U.S. has a complex relationship with the groups involved in the Syrian conflict. The U.S. is keen to prevent the rise of extremist groups like ISIL and al-Qaeda in the region, and the West's engagement with Syria's new government could be seen as a way to address these security concerns. But the U.S. also has to balance its alliances with regional partners like Israel and the Gulf states, who are likely to view any rapprochement with Syria skeptically. The road ahead for Syria is undoubtedly challenging, and the international community's role will be critical in shaping what comes next. Baerbock's visit signals that Europe is ready to engage, but they're not turning a blind eye to the past. The demands are clear: a new political process, inclusivity, and accountability. But there's still much uncertainty about how these goals will be achieved in a country that has known little peace for over a decade. So, there you have it, folks, a snapshot of the latest developments in Syria and Europe's diplomatic engagement. It's a complex and evolving story, and we'll be keeping a close eye on how this situation unfolds in the coming months. Stay tuned for more updates, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay informed with KLM Institute. The impact of this visit is not just confined to Syria, but the entire Middle East and beyond. The changes set in motion today could have far-reaching consequences for Palestine, Gaza, Israel, Iran, Russia, and the United States. Stay with us as we continue to follow this developing story.